by my side, baby? Do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, say, baby. Say, baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, do you wanna lay down by my side, baby? Do you wanna lay down with me? Say, say, baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, do you wanna lay down by my side, baby? Do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, say, baby. Say, baby. Say, baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, do you wanna lay down by my side? Baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby. Say, baby. Say, baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, do you wanna lay down by my side? Baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby. Say, baby.
All right. Good morning, party people. It is January 22nd. I don't know about you guys. This month seems to be going by fast. All right. We already got some viewers. How's it going, guys? So we are still being sponsored by the same bud. This is still the Mojito. I know it's a little early to be talking politics and shit, but I didn't know what other platform to put this under, and I didn't want to trick anyone into a false narrative and make them think that this is going to be about anything that it's not, you know. I really did not want to misrepresent this episode, so this is going to be about we're going to talk about Robert Groden's new book called Absolute Proof, which is on the JFK assassination. And what this guy does is he basically managed to use the Warren Commission's bullshit theories and their bullshit photos and information and use their very own, you know, terrible crap that they clung to, terrible lies and misinformation that they clung to, and he uses it against them. And it turned out there was more proof in those photos than we ever imagined. So this man does a great job, but we'll get to that after this. So again, this bud is called Mojito, and I definitely recommend it. It's got an array of flavor, and there's a slight mint to it, so it's really a good bud. All right, cheers. So, yeah, that's what the show's all about, is waking and baking, and then talking about the JFK assassination. I'm sorry. It's a great strain, though. So, let's go ahead and start off. So, as I stated before, JFK is Absolute Proof. This is a new book written by Robert Groden, who served as a technical consultant for the actual 91 Oliver Stone picture, JFK. So, in 75, Abraham Zapruder's home movie of the assassination, Robert had taken this to a national audience for an inaugural viewing on a television program. I guess it was hosted by Geraldo and Dick Gregory. And anytime someone has the gall and the balls to stand up to the powers that be, you're gonna instantly have my respect. That's just how it goes, you know. And if it has to do with JFK, it's just it's just an instant. Honestly, because if you do it in the name of JFK, you're doing it in the name of the greatest chance our country ever had at a real prosperous and even transparent future in government. But just as he was taken from us within a very short amount of time, MLK Bobby Kennedy. We're not far behind. So you have, MLK, Gandhi, Malcolm X, Bobby Kennedy, Jesus, JFK. Anyone that wants to promote change, positive change into our lives, we gotta kill them. It's just I don't know if it's a human thing, or if it's just an American thing, or if it's a monetary thing. I don't know. But it seems like positive change is always feared by this imaginary government, or not imaginary, but definitely invisible. So, as I was saying, my fascination with the 60s, it was a kind of double-edged sword growing up. On one end, you were looked at as a kind of a nerd, but who gives a shit how you're looked as? But you're always looked at as you're fighting not a losing battle, but a battle that had already been lost, and you're beating this horse long past its demise, at the point now where you're just mashing bone marrow. And I disagree with that notion, because in 1961, I believe that was the beginning of the end of our own prosperity. Not just for JFK, but for us, the people, to have any kind of transparency left within our government, and any chance of real, steady, and progressive, continuations and expansion. So I disagree with that notion. This has also become the beginning of the end of a line that not only would divide us forever, but give us a future that nobody saw coming, and definitely nobody wanted, except the only people that saw it coming was the select group of people that spend their lives searching for truth, like Mark Lane, Robert Groden, myself. Anybody that just searches constantly for truth. And it's a perfect example of that group. And as I said, in 75, he managed to use the very evidence that the Warren Commission up to the Johnson administration, and the very people we still have in office today, were clinging to so bad for so long. And the real patriots like Jim Garrison, Mark Lane, would constantly dispute it. So it's important, because you have to remember, it's the biggest murder and the biggest farce of the 20th century. Now, in my opinion, the worst of it was yet to come, because in my opinion, the 9/11 was the biggest mass murder of the 21st century. So, it doesn't take a genius to look at the facts and be able to use them. Also, I forgot to mention that we have a hashtag right over here that is very important to us. We really, really want you to use this hashtag, FreeBensDoink, if you are not a Ben Shapiro fan. If you happen to dislike Ben Shapiro as much as I do, would love for you guys to, go ahead and use that. So, let's see, where was I? So, oops. Let me see, where did I leave off? So, his use of what was available to him was enough for him to show the negatives. And so what he did was he made negatives of the photos of the book depository. And some of these were just straight up, you couldn't make anything out of it. It was just black. And so he used this, forgot what chemical, to bring out the actual definition in the photo. And when you look at this reversed photo that the Warren Commission had kept of the book depository, you can clearly see a face in the window. There's a glimpse of a man on another floor at that time. At that same time, Oswald was supposedly drinking a Coke on the second floor. So definitely wasn't him. Then who the hell was that? And I also always found it suspicious that they waited a full hour to empty out, clear out the book depository. That really didn't make any sense to me. So he found proof through the photos of the existence of the hole in the limousine's windshield. And his book actually has over 1,000. There's 1,000 photos in this book. So there's plenty to keep any Kennedy buff like myself busy for at least a couple hours, you know. And he has like 7 other books if anybody's interested. And yeah, he's great because this book. Well, the book's great because he takes no pot shots. He takes no assumptions. He doesn't give you any ideas of his own. Rather, throwing their words back to haunt them. And it's a great way to get your answers on the how, which most people are seem to be interested with. The truth would probably never really be known, but the why is what I used to struggle with. And to the point where I got up to where the who is no longer important, you know. Honestly, it doesn't matter who pulled the triggers. It's, you know, who paid them, who benefited. And it's like the dude said in Big Lebowski. You know, it's like Lenin said, man, you gotta look for the dude that benefits. And no, Donnie, that's not from I Am the Walrus. Sorry, I'm a huge Big Lebowski fan. I don't know if anyone else is. And so, as people focus on the who, which is not as nearly as important, but I still have this strong need to just know. And so I have a lot of restless nights with these names that just go through my head constantly. And their names such as Donald Lawton. Now, Donald Lawton, this is the man, in my opinion, who first gave us a showing that something was very wrong on November 22nd of 1963. He was kicked out of his normal position as Kennedy's, you know, kind of right-hand man on the back, where they'd have these posts, and this man is always behind Kennedy. It's his job. And you can see he's being removed and replaced. And you can see that he's arguing. And as the limousine speeds up a little bit, as the motorcade speeds up a little bit, you see his arms go up as if to say, well, what the fuck are you doing? That physical gesture was the first in a long line of confusion and obvious misdirection. Another name I can never let go of is Armando I think it's Armenio. Armenio Diaz was a Cuban defector, and so he went on a lot of different paramilitary kind of coup d'etat and assassination attempts similar to Kennedy's, and to replace leaders of foreign governments, even an assassination attempt to kill the I think it was the Costa Rican president. And so this guy's been a part of this kind of shit for a long time. He was a expert he was close to an expert marksman, but of course he didn't go to an American military, so we wouldn't know like his actual range or anything. But he was a very sharp shooter, and was always bragging about himself. And he had told his friend Martinez that, you know, when he had worked outside of Central America, he admitted to a friend that he was one of the shooters in that triangulation of Crossfire. You have to remember, as Kennedy was coming up Houston, that was the cleanest shot they could have taken, but they didn't take it. And the reason why was so he could turn onto Elm. Now, had the Secret Service truly done anything with it, the CIA members said right away, we would have been all over that place. And they say it in the 91 film, Donald Sutherland says, you would have felt a military presence because we would have never allowed him to turn on Elm Street. It just wouldn't have made sense. It's too sharp. There's not, you know, it was just, everything was wrong. And then, so I do believe he was one of the shooters. I couldn't tell you which one, but if you read Joe Bonanno, his book, Joseph Bonanno was, of course, the head of the Bonanno crime family syndicate in the mob, you know, one of the 5 families. His book, Man of Honor, he mentions knowledge of the shooter that was in the sewer, where I think it was most likely the shot came from the shot that came from the sewer was most likely the infamous throat shot, where Kennedy clearly is covering his throat. Most people seem to say that seemed to have come from an upward trajectory because of the way it went through his throat. And the fact that the later photos would show you that he got hit in the throat back here behind his neck, it just makes no damn sense because, you know, there is no mark on that part of him. So they totally botched the throat job when they, on purpose, to mess up when they added the slit for the tracheotomy. They clearly botched it. So basically, it takes away the chance to say, hey, look, it's a perfect bullet size or whatever. But that is most likely where that guy was located. And any Kennedy fan is aware of his father, Joe Kennedy, that worked with the mafia during the bootlegging, and, you know, Joe being, his mob connections being kind of the source of his fame and, you know, his connections with, you know, guys like Sinatra, and, you know, they were the source of JFK's presidential success. This led to a double cross on Jack's part, where he basically was shaking hands with known mobsters in fancy nightclubs, but it was like as if he had his fingers crossed behind his back, you know? Like, making promises he knows he's not going to fill for these, you know, mobsters, because he wanted secret societies to be destroyed, all of them. So he was making fake deals with the mafia so he could screw them. And of course, that's just never a good idea. But after Robert Kennedy started putting those same guys that got them where they are the brothers that may have attacked too soon, because betraying the mob made an enemy out of, you know, that just made an enemy for Bobby and Jack. So it was no surprise to read about their parts in the assassination, and in both cases. The Bonanno family was close with another name that I can't get out of my head, is Santos Trafficante Jr., which is another name that just pops up in my head. kind of like when you're playing Where's Waldo and you actually see the son of a bitch, that it pops out in your head. Which just finally leads me to, and Santos Trafficante Jr. had a strong connection with the Bonanno family, and it just makes sense because his name Trafficante Jr. is not Santos Trafficante. That name Traffic, his name basically has traffic in it, so it stands out. So when it comes up in the assassination, and literally I just listened to an interview with Joe Bonanno, and he mentioned Santos Trafficante. So there's definitely that connection there. And then, which finally leaves me to the Paines, a couple that was very odd. Michael and Ruth Paine. They were a very suspicious couple involved with Oswald and Jack Ruby, I think. And so Michael Paine was the man that was seen, and if you've seen the 91 film, and he explains that there was a target shooting under Oswald's name that was never being used, except Michael Paine was using it. And he started shooting at other people's targets, during what was, just regular range shooting. And when he was approached, he actually did say, when the guy said, hey, you're shooting at other people's targets, he made a joke saying, I'm sorry, I thought I was shooting at that son of a bitch Kennedy. And it was a quote. I mean, the guy said this. So when you see that scene in the movie, don't be fooled that actually is accurate. And I also believe that this is the same man that Miss Clemens, I only know her name as Miss Clemens, and Domingo Gutierrez, both were witnesses for Officer Tippett's shooting. And before they fled the scene, the guy said that neither of them, Domingo had said neither of them were Oswald. And remember, Oswald supposedly killed Tippett after he killed Kennedy, which, if you look at the amount of traveling he would have had to do to make it within that time frame, you can obviously see that that makes no sense whatsoever. And, you got to be on speed or something to go. You got to be on like PCP to walk that fast. Because, I mean, he made it 3/5 of a mile within a few minutes. That doesn't happen. And so these two witnesses, Domingo and Clemens, they were never once given a chance to come forward, never once given a chance to look at a lineup, never once given a chance to look at photos. Their statements were completely ignored by the FBI and the Warren Commission, which was an entire commission made up of people that Kennedy had fired and wanted nothing to do with. And these are the people that are in charge of how it went down, And so, again, goes right back to that Napoleon, famous Napoleon quote of history is written by the winners. And in this case, unfortunately, it's right because they just did not manage to ever get justice that we deserve. The files that we should have had declassified by now are still not going to be released anytime soon. Biden just passed another stretch, and so I think what they're trying to do is make sure that not only is everyone dead from that generation. They're waiting until everyone's dead from that generation. And it seems like they wanted to do it like as if to literally wait until we don't have the knowledge to care anymore. You know, it's as if they just want us to forget, and I can't do that. I just can't. When your government is taken from you and installed and implemented a new government, that changed everything forever, and we will never overcome this until we basically do what the Constitution states what we should do in the terms, or in case we don't trust our government anymore. We cut it, we strip them of their power, we start a new government. It literally says in the Constitution, if we can't trust our government and the government no longer fears its people, then we seek for revolution and start a new government. And I agree with that, and I think we should. So I beg of you, don't start the revolution without me. Alright, that's my time. I'm going to go ahead and throw this up on YouTube. Thank you guys for sticking around with me. I really appreciate that. Anybody that watches this in the future, make sure you throw your comments in, and we do respond to whatever you guys send us at uselessagentmusic@gmail.com. And that's about it. Alright, so take care of each other. See you guys on the other side. Alright, take care, my friends.
Say, but do you wanna lay down with me? Say, but do you wanna lay down by my side? But do you wanna lay down with me? Say, but do you wanna lay down with me? Say, but do you wanna lay down by my side? But do you wanna lay down with me? Say, but do you wanna lay down with me? Say, but do you wanna lay down by my side? Baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, say, baby. Say, baby, say, baby, do you wanna lay down with me? Say, baby, do you wanna